Welcome.
Welcome.
I'm Shen,
And I'm Lay.
and this is the Wild Day Not podcast.
It is.
I was going to introduce someone else.
Oh, yeah.
So our business partners are here today.
They are.
Our partners in the baby making business.
Mm-hmm.
They've
Partners in
joined
crime.
us. Welcome, Joe.
Hello.
And Leon.
Wagwan.
So we're not checking in today just because we're a little bit strapped for time. Mm-hmm. And we're also not going to nominate Bomb Moms this week. We're just going to take a moment to shout out the rad dads, our BDs that are sitting next to us.
Our BDs.
BDs!
We are really short on time today.
Yeah. So short that we're not even taking the time to pronounce things. Like, that's it. Strictly acronyms from here on out. But yeah, shout out to all the fantastic fathers, including the ones that we're blessed to sit next to. And what's the topic? Tell us, Shen.
So the topic today is parenting styles and what kind of parent do you want to be? Mm-hmm. And I thought it would be interesting to bring the dads into the conversation because I 100% guarantee we are going to argue about this.
I know.
I can't wait.
Definitely.
I cannot wait.
Do we want to talk about the different styles of parenting?
Yes, please. I
Yeah.
don't have my phone on me.
Oh, okay. Well, my phone is
You don't
dying,
mind.
but I'm going to pull it up. So there are essentially four main styles of parenting. One that I don't think really counts because it's when you're removed and unresponsive, which none of us are.
We do not qualify.
But the other three are really interesting. So the first style of parenting is where is it? Okay, so the authoritarian / disciplinarian. And I think that style of parenting is one that many of us are familiar with, especially if you're of Caribbean background. It's a very strict dictatorship type parenting. So it's I'm the parent, you're the child. You adhere to everything that I have to say. You are a child, and you are a child even when you're an adult. And there's really no flexibility. There's no room for discussion or negotiation. It's just like a very strict parent-child relationship. Mm-hmm. I think the polar opposite of that is the permissive style of parenting where you allow your child the creative space to make decisions for themselves, to set their own rules. You don't say no. There's, like, again, lots of room for the child to be and to develop a sense of self and, self-regulate. And then I guess the type of parenting that most researchers recommend is authoritative parenting, which is somewhere in between, a cross between permissive and authoritative, or authoritarian, I should say. So where it's, of course, you recognize that there is a clear distinction between you, the adult, and the child. But at the same time, you're giving that child room to make mistakes. You're giving that child room to, negotiate and to make decisions. So you're allowing that child to exercise their rights to be autonomous, but at the same time, kind of guiding them and making sure that you're there every step of the way to assist.
Sorry, what was the last one called again?
Authoritative. I know it's kind of confusing. So authoritarian,
Yeah.
and then permissive,
Okay.
and authoritative.
Okay.
Yeah. So
And the next one, isn't there one more?
yeah, it's like unresponsive, but it's like where you're like so removed that you don't care. what
Basically,
happens.
neglect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
what about you? What do you think?
Me?
No, John.
Oh, I'm looking at the camera.
Oh, okay.
I don't know where to look.
This is awkward.
Okay. So, what kind of parent do I want? Sorry, let me make sure I'm talking
Yeah.
to the mic.
Yeah.
So, what kind of parent do I want to be, or?
Or what kind of parenting
am I?
You are.
Yeah.
Now.
Okay, well, I think that coming from a Caribbean background, most of us came from something more authoritative.
Authoritarian.
Authoritarian. So I think most of us want to start raising our kids and have that more friendship with them. Mm-hmm. But I think as time goes on, like you go in with the best intentions and things basically change based off the kid that you have, right? So yeah, everyone wants to be cool with your kid. Everyone wants to have that friendship with their kid because most of us didn't have a friendship relationship with our own parents.
Yeah.
But I feel as time goes on, we may have to battle that instinct of how we actually were trained ourselves or how we were raised ourselves. Yeah. If that
I
made
kind
any
of agree
sense.
with you. I definitely, I'm one of those people that would want to be friends with my child, but at
yeah?
the same time, I do know how important it is for me to set boundaries.
Yeah.
So I do want to have a level of mutual respect and
Mm-hmm.
openness with Winter, but at the same time, she needs to know like where the line is between her and I relationship,
Yeah.
and she should feel free to talk to me and um, be able to discuss things with me and feel comfortable. And I want to be open to that. But I don't want to be her friend where it gets to the point where she feels free to say whatever she wants to me, but then I have no authority over it. I don't have, like, I can't tell her what to do. I can't say
Yeah.
no at that point.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, cool. Hey, mom, I'm going to go rob a bank tomorrow. All right, cool.
Yeah.
I'll have no authority over her.
Yeah.
So I have to, that's where it's tricky for me because I don't know which scenarios where I would have to set the boundaries. But I mean, right now she's so young. So
Yeah.
right now it's like I'm the boss.
Exactly.
I'm just giving her space to explore and, discover the world. But when she gets older, I see where it is important for me to set boundaries for her.
Yeah. No, I agree.
But I do want to be her friend.
We just talked about that.
Yeah, we did.
I really want to be cool
Yeah.
with her.
No, we were, but we were saying, like, as you were saying, there definitely needs to be a line where you don't cross with your child and your child doesn't cross with you. Because
Agreed.
I feel like, I mean, like you say, it has to do with a bit of respect.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, me and my mom were really good friends, have a good relationship, but I'm 33 and I still don't really swear around my mom.
Yeah.
You know, because I have that level of respect for her. So I'm not, even though we're really good friends and I could tell her certain things, I'm not going to just drop F-bombs and all that stuff around my mom because, yeah, I have that respect for her. You know?
To your point, I was talking to a friend of mine, and he brought something up in regards to this. As Caribbean, growing up with my Caribbean parents, we were never really given the room to be mad.
Yeah.
Because the moment you like raise your voice or talk, quote unquote, talk back, you're automatically being rude, and that gets shut down immediately. But our parents never looked at it that it's not coming from a place of malice. You're just frustrated.
Yeah,
You're
exactly.
just annoyed. And
Yeah.
when you're annoyed, whether you're a kid, an adult, you're gonna voice that.
Yeah.
But if you don't have the room to
Have a voice?
to have a voice, or even learn how to be upset,
Yeah.
when you get older in life, you're just gonna be an angry guy.
Yeah.
You
No,
know what I-
exactly.
You know what I mean?
Outbursts,
You have outbursts.
For sure.
So like when you're faced with any type of authority, like a police officer or whoever, you may feel like anxious or heightened because you don't know how to calmly express, hey,
Or
this
communicate with
oh,
authority.
yeah, exactly, like that you're upset or this is wrong.
I agree.
You're automatically heightened. Go ahead.
To piggyback on that point, that's exactly how I feel about it, especially from a teacher's perspective. Because I see that often a lot with a lot of students where like they are just like so riled up with anger and frustration and they do not know how to effectively like get rid of that like frustration. Like it's like they've never really been taught or given the space to like express themselves in a safe way. And just to the point of making sure that children understand respect is that I can always tell as a teacher which children like are raised in permissive households. You know the kids that are raised in permissive households. You know the children who are raised in authoritative and authoritative. You can see authoritative. You can see because of how they engage with other adults, right? And I think that that's what's important to me as well. I want to raise Yara so that not only is she respectful of me and her and I have a relationship that is admirable, but that when she's not in my presence, that she's engaging with adults in the same way, where she
Right.
feels safe enough to advocate for herself, but at the same time, recognize that you are a child. And that's what I think parents don't realize. Like when you're setting up the style of parenting that you want for your household, that interaction with adults doesn't just stay within the confines of your home. That
Right.
that your child is using that now to determine how do I engage with adults everywhere.
Right.
So yeah, I think it's really important to have that balance. Like I'm totally with you, Shen, especially like having a daughter. It's like, yeah, like I definitely want her to be able to tell me about boys. I want her to
Yeah.
be able to tell me about those kinds of things, like, things that are more intimate, things that like not that I didn't tell my mom, but that sometimes I felt reluctant to share, even though my mom was very open door policy. But like I just kind of felt uncomfortable sharing a lot of that stuff.
Yeah.
I don't want that for Yara. I really want us to feel safe doing that. But
I want her to feel that she has my respect also.
exactly.
And that's really important to me because that goes with her and makes her feel important, makes her feel like she has a voice.
Very empowered.
Because I see how that can be carried over in the workplace, in relationships, friendships.
Yeah.
And if you start that foundation, like I know, like I grew up, my parents never, talked wild to me. So when I went out and had like friendships or even relationships, no one, like if my parents don't talk wild to me, nobody is going to have that disrespect for me. And that kind of laid a standard for how I wanted to be treated and how I treated other people out in the world. So I think that's really important with parenting. Right, Joe?
Right.
Your relationship with your parents as a child is so important. People don't realize how important that is.
It sets the foundation
of your whole
every
life.
relationship you have with anybody, whether it's a friendship, a marriage, a girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever, your relationship with your parents is the foundation of how you learn to communicate within those relationships.
Exactly.
So if you never learn to communicate, you may not even be aware that you have an issue with the communication. You may think how the way you're acting is normal.
Yeah.
That's your normal.
Yeah.
And like you were saying, Joe, before, like if you grew up with Caribbean,
Speak into the mic a little bit.
if you grew up with Caribbean parents, a lot of them were very what was the first one? Authoritarian.
Authoritarian.
Yeah, like you're eating this, you're coming back in at this time, you're wearing this. I don't care if it's Halloween or whatever. You're not wearing no mask to school or like what I mean. There was just like rules that you're not getting around it. What your mom says, that's what it. If you did anything otherwise,
Let me ask you a question.
you know what you're gonna get.
I don't want to cut you off. Let me ask you a question. Do you think it would have been more effective if our parents explained the why behind something?
Definitely.
For sure.
'Cause it was just before. It was just like, no, you're not doing this. And if you ask why, that's you giving attitude.
No, it's
But
definitely.
but I think understanding the reason why you're not doing something adds a tremendous value.
Yeah, and if you like, if you were to ask why, like, it would spread around your whole family. Like, my back chat me. Lord God, me can't believe me. Here's the boy when I chat back. Like, no, I just want to know why you're telling me why I can't go somewhere or why I can't do this. That would like clarify a lot with the kid.
Right.
If you explain the reason, even why you're beating him.
Yeah.
After you beat him, after he calms down, you explain, listen, you touched the stove and it was hot. You're gonna hurt yourself. So I had to teach you before you like scarred yourself.
Exactly.
I mean, just whatever the situation may be.
Yeah.
If you sit them down and explain it, I feel like it'll go over a lot easier and the anger won't be there in the background.
Yeah.
Because all of us
Resentment.
we ran to our rooms, slammed our doors, and
Or
we're
try.
Silently kick the pillow like
like, you know, I hate her.
I hate her.
If I could only.
Yeah.
if I could only say why.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but if I feel like if you explain that, like,
Yeah.
you won't have that backlash of anger and
They could go through that process of accepting.
Yeah.
exactly.
Even if you're pissed off about the why, at least you have some kind of foundation
Some
as
context.
for why.
Yeah.
And
You know.
and that at least the why too opens up the realm of dialogue now.
Yeah.
So I say you can't do this, and this is the reason why. And they can possibly like, okay, I understand that, Dad, but this is a reason why I think it's okay for me to do that. And then we can talk back and forth.
Yeah.
Whether at the end of the conversation ends, you're still not doing it. At least we had a conversation about
Absolutely.
it.
Because, sometimes we might be wrong. We might be wrong.
We might be. I think so. I definitely think. And I think it's good, too, because when you just said, like, explaining the why, it reminds me of something that Leon and I do now very subconsciously, but I'm so happy that we do that. Is that even when we're disciplining Yara, like if she's going to like the outlet and she's trying to plug out the, or unplug, I should say, the TV or what have you, we're always like, don't do that, it's dangerous, don't do that, you're gonna hurt yourself. Like there's always some form of justification for why she shouldn't do what she's doing. And of course, Yara's a year old, she doesn't really understand what the heck we're saying, but at the same time, we're modeling a behavior that we wanna continue right throughout her, like our adulting careers. We wanna continue to explain to her, you can't do this because of whatever the repercussion may be. But yeah, I think but the flip side of that is that, again, like, you know, especially during teenagehood, whether there's an explanation or not, or whether there's a legitimate justification, kids are definitely going to still want to do what they want to do anyways.
Exactly.
And I think that that's why you have to be, as a parent, very firm in like what your beliefs are, and a very, very united front. Like, no matter what, even if Leon doesn't disagree with me, I always say, like, you have to agree with me in the moment, and we can talk about it after.
Yeah.
But we cannot appear divided in front of Yara, or that's it. The day that we appear divided in front of her, it's dangerous, because she's gonna try. She's gonna be like, okay, well, mom said this or dad said this, so, like, she's gonna be constantly
It's a thing.
trying
Yeah,
to, like,
we're humans.
that's it. You know, she's gonna be, yeah, she's
figure out
gonna
a
be
way
trying
to get what we want.
exactly.
I don't know if I completely agree with that.
No,
Yeah.
tell me why.
Like, what's the harm of disagreeing in front of each other?
Disagreeing in front of each other in regards to, like, a decision.
So Yara comes to you. She's a teenager. She's like, "Mom, I want to go to this party." You're cool with it. You're not cool with it, but you say no. Right from the jump.
Okay.
And she looks at dad,
Well, it depends. Like, it's like if
and dad's like, "Well, I don't know,
mean,
maybe. Like, who's gonna be there? You know?"
Yeah, and there's some questions that are asked, you
Yeah.
know, like,
for me, I would. Well, in a situation like that, my response would be like, okay, we're gonna talk about it. I don't think I would ever make, unless it was something immediate. I don't even know.
Well, look, don't worry about the situation, but more like, okay, so you said no. Whatever the question was, you
But
said no.
okay, fair.
You said
I
no.
guess what I'm saying is that, like, I would like to have a conversation with Leon about it. We make a decision about it so that we can
And
go to her
then-
united.
and then
Okay.
Yeah, but I guess depending. But still, like I said, even what you just said, there's, for me, that's still a little bit sticky.
There's no right or wrong answer.
No,
I'm
I
just
hear you,
curious.
but I
Yeah.
fear what happens when she sees.
I feel like it's a crack.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
I say no, and dad's like,
where you
okay, well,
see-
maybe.
where you see weakness.
And then it's just
I
like,
did
now
that
what?
as a teenager.
Yeah. I
My
don't-
mom said
100%.
no for everything.
My dad,
My dad,
Yeah.
I'd be like, "Oh, dad."
same.
I'd wait till my mom's
And you just
sleeping.
wait
Same.
for the
Dad,
weakness. You just wait for the weakness.
can I go to this party? I know he'll go. He'll say
Same.
okay. He'll drive me there.
Yep.
And
Here's the thing though. I will not go back on the final decision, but I have no problem with disagreeing with you in the moment. So say like you decided no,
okay,
and I'd be
well,
like, you know what,
that's fair.
I don't necessarily agree with you, but your,
Your
mom
mom
said
said
no.
no.
Cool.
Okay.
Because on the flip side, it's gonna happen. I'm gonna be like, no, you're not doing that. You're gonna be like, your dad said no. That's still a united front.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
true.
I agree.
Okay,
Shows
that's-
that we
that's
dis-
fine.
I
and we're-
agree.
and we're disagreeing.
Yeah,
That's true.
But-
That's true.
you
I
know?
think that's healthy. Also,
I think that's fine. Okay.
This shows that like we can talk about it.
I guess as long as the disagreement doesn't lead into an argument.
Yeah.
In front of the child.
Yeah.
but that's a
Then
good
you're
approach.
bickering
Yeah.
back
Yeah.
and forth.
There, because
And I also think like we have to figure as we get older, we have to kind of isolate and what's the word I'm looking for? We have to establish what an argument actually is. Is an argument
Or a
everyone yelling at each other,
Or is it just is
A
it a
disagreement.
disagreement?
or is
Yeah.
it exactly
Definitely
because then we go back to what we're talking about before. Is like
Yeah.
what is
are
that?
are you being disrespectful?
Yeah. Yeah.
If my kid raises her voice at me, is she being disrespectful?
Yeah.
Maybe she's just annoyed. If you raise your voice, if I raise my voice at Shen, I might not be disrespectful, but I could be annoyed.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's what you model and
Exactly,
on what
yeah.
definition that
Exactly.
is to
Exactly.
you.
And modeling conflict is really healthy. Exactly what you said. Like, it's so important to do that. And I think that because I've read like a number of different articles that talk about the danger of arguing in front of your kids and like letting them see. And I don't think that, again, I think it's important to just argue right. Like, if we're arguing in a way that's constructive
Right.
and that, you know, that's respectful, then I
Right.
think that's important for Yara to see.
Yeah.
And I think not only is it important for her to see the argument, but the resolution.
Exactly, because that builds character. She can
Yeah.
see that daddy and mommy can be at a disagreement or not agree with each other, but then they they make it work. After,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Right. Yeah, it's like almost like it's like problem solving skills, right? It's like
Oh, yeah.
yeah, and if mommy and daddy are always seemingly agreeing all the time,
Perfect. Yeah.
then
Yeah.
she brings it into a relationship where she's butting heads with her man.
Very true.
Then it's like, why are we not on the same
gonna
page?
feel
Why is this not
Yeah.
like
There's no
this is
perfect-
not what I said exactly?
Yeah, you
This
know what I
kid,
mean?
yeah.
true.
When you're looking for a forever partner,
Yeah.
you kind of low key look for your parents. a
Oh my
little bit,
gosh, I know.
subconsciously.
That's a little too early now.
Yeah.
A little too early for those
He's too
talks.
scared to talk about it.
What? Talk about what?
Dating.
Dating
Oh, for Yara?
Or winter.
or
You
winter.
got a girl too, bro.
Yeah.
John's like, can't relate.
I know. What are we gonna talk about?
Okay, so let me
yeah.
ask this. I'm
Yeah.
gonna bring up this question because I'm so
Oh my God.
interested to see what your opinions are on this. So I was speaking to someone one day, and they were telling me a story about a friend that has children, and she, I don't like the word kicks her kids out, but she exits
Exiles.
her children out of her household at the age of 18, all of them. And I was, it's not
Okay.
exiled.
Okay.
She,
Okay, hold on. Define exile. Like you
Because
can't
not
live, you can't live here anymore.
they are all aware at the age of 18 they have to exit her home and start a life. And I was very intrigued by that. And I asked her, how is her relationship with her children now? Because they're all adults. And she only has 2 more children left that are 16, or no, 17. And they are about to
Making
exit the home. And
preparations.
she mentioned that she's worried about one of them because she doesn't think that particular child is ready.
Okay.
But she's still gonna kick them out.
Um,
I'm
But,
curious.
like, I was talking to. Sorry, did I cut you off?
No,
Yeah.
go for it. I want to hear anything.
No, we were speaking to Leanne about this, and before you were saying before she kicks them out, she goes and she finds apartments with them. She sets them up like and gets them ready. You know, gives them a little glimpse of what life is gonna be like. I don't know if she helps them with rent or whatever the situation may be, but if she's gearing them up 15, 16, say, listen, you have 2 years.
Oh my gosh. Oh
Yeah.
my gosh.
If you get your little job or whatever, you're not paying rent, save your money. When you're ready by 18, I'm gonna help you get a place. I'm gonna help you get situated, but you're not gonna stay here anymore.
honestly,
I agree with it.
I think
I do too.
I agree with it, but I think 18 is too young.
Thanks.
I was gonna say
Yeah.
I
Thank
think 20 is
you.
better. I think 20
Oh
is
my
better,
God.
but
Everyone
18
thinks 18
is
is
still
way
too
too
fresh.
young.
Because if
Yeah.
you're 16, you have to
Oh
think of the
my
pressures of
gosh.
saving money.
Yeah.
That's a lot. 16 and 17, that's a lot to put on a 16 and 17-year-old.
I mean,
I also think. Sorry, go ahead.
I hear what you're saying, but I think I agree with this. I would, if I feel like my child is ready, I would.
No, let her go.
I would allow her.
17 years left.
Maybe not by force, but at that age, I'd be like, okay, we are now going to discuss your exit plan, and this is your timeline. Like, you will no longer be in my home up until the age of 21.
Okay.
Then you have to leave. But mind you, if I am preparing to kick my child out, I'm not gonna let her live her best life and then be like, oh, by the way, you have to move out at 18.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You're not going to tell them a year
From
before.
like as soon as she is aware of responsibility, I am going to start to groom her, teach her financial literacy,
Absolutely.
teach her about, real estate,
Yeah.
living on your own, bills, all those things. I'm going to prepare her. I'm not just going to throw her to the wolves and hope for the best. I want to groom her up until that point because there are people that are 20, 21 that are millionaire mogules
Agreed.
Yeah.
and they stand on their own 2 feet.
Yeah, there's also a lot of homeless 21-year-olds as well.
Absolutely.
So okay, here's my thing. I still think 21 is a little young too. I think we're thinking with the hat of when we were younger and what the economy was when we were younger because it would have been easier for
Would've
us
been easy.
to move out at 18, 21.
Because I did.
Yeah, and because you did. But
too.
nowadays, rent is a mortgage.
Yeah.
It really
Rent
is.
is a mortgage. So I do agree with having an exit strategy or exit plan, but I'm probably thinking 25.
Oh my gosh.
And
We're
I'm
the same person.
And I'm also thinking maybe at 18, if you're not moving out, you're paying me rent.
Oh,
Yeah.
for sure.
And then what we're gonna do at that point in time as well, I'm taking your rent money. I'm putting it in an account.
Same thing.
So when you're ready to be 20, when you are 25,
Got your money.
and you're like, hey, I want to buy a house.
Yep.
Cool.
Here's your
Your money back.
Don't exactly.
Here's your money back. Because that works for kids that weren't ready to move out anyway.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And even if they were ready to move out, at least you're just making sure that they're financially stable when they're ready to move out.
Yeah.
And your
Absolutely.
camera just died, by the way.
Oh, huh.
I saw yeah. No, I completely agree. I said the exact same thing to him. I said, 18 is way too young, and maybe this is like the teacher had again, but teaching grade 12, oh my goodness. I could not even fathom the vast majority of those students living on their own. Could I picture them in a dorm-like environment, still like, getting the support of their family and friends, like, very much still like under the guise of their parents? Absolutely. But like in terms of like full 100% independent autonomous living at 18, no freaking way.
Yeah,
What is
the cost.
What is the graduating year now?
It's 18 or 17, depending, because if you have a late birthday. So the same, like perfect example with me, and maybe Shen feels differently because you left home at 18. But
Well, I didn't leave at 18, but I was quite independent very early in my life.
Okay, fair enough. I felt like I was too. I've been working since I was 14 years old.
Yeah.
I've always been, my mom considers me a fairly independent and self-sufficient child. I applied to Windsor and I applied to York and I got into both. And my mom's like, you're not going to Windsor. So enjoy your hopping on the Viva and go. You are not emotionally mature enough to live on your own. I was devastated.
Let me ask you this. Sorry to cut you off. Do you think you were emotionally mature?
I 100% was not.
Okay.
100%. In hindsight, I definitely wasn't. I was adamant. I was so angry. Like, I remember I held that against her forever. And that's one of the reasons why at 24, when I graduated, I'm like, I'm moving to Korea.
But sorry to cut you off. Knowing you had the option to go to, what if you didn't have the option to go to York and you had to go to Windsor? Do you think you could have mentally like prepared yourself?
I feel like I
You
would have
had to.
I would have had to. You're right. Fine. In that situation, 100%, I would have had to have developed that maturity. I would have had to have risen to the occasion. I would have had no choice. But I feel like prematurely was I like thrusting myself in that environment. Like I definitely feel so. I feel like my mom was 100% dead on. Like her intuition was spot on. I was not ready. I am with John in like in full. I'm in full agreement. Like 18 is too young. 21 is too young. 25, I feel like you at 25 you don't need to be living here anymore.
I feel like
Even 25 to 24.
I feel like 21 is a good age.
I
Even
think
21 to
21 is a good
24,
age.
you can go between that time. But 25, you have to be out by 25. That's when you gotta go.
Here's my thing. Sorry.
Yeah.
No, go ahead.
Here's my thing. People are stupid.
People are stupid. Talking about
People
It's like,
I
what if
know.
one of
I
your
know.
kids are
To
dumb?
Chanel's point, these kids are way more business savvy than we were.
But there's a lot of
Yeah.
gullible idiots.
But because you're
in this
business
age.
savvy doesn't necessarily mean you're life savvy.
Yeah.
Or
You know
have
what I
common
mean?
sense.
Yeah, like you can create an addiction out of anything now.
Yeah.
These kids are on jewels.
Yeah.
Smoking, how do you get vape and all
Yeah,
that?
yeah,
all
yeah.
So you know what I mean? So like, you should be smart in one sense and be dumb in another
Totally.
sense.
For
You know what I
sure.
mean? So just because you can make money and be business savvy and I've prepped you financially doesn't mean you're, to your point, be emotionally ready to move out at 19, 21 or whatever, right?
And I feel like many of the millennials have that.
Some people aren't ready to move out at 30.
Yeah, that's fair. But I feel like a lot
I
of
know
those
it's a
kids,
long
like,
time, but
they're
some
not
people
ready.
don't have it.
Yeah.
And to the lady's point, what is she trying to accomplish by kicking them out at 18?
I think that it was just her method of, I guess, like exposure therapy type thing. Like this is
She's
the
trying to
world.
wants to
Yeah.
get them to get their own freedom.
Yeah.
Yeah,
own,
learn
like-
their own lessons, know that life. I think that person had a hard life and was able to become very successful.
Okay.
And she's like, if I can come from this and
That
make
always
this,
doesn't work
Yeah.
for
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. Because
Like-
I understand her method. I'm agreeing to it. Doesn't necessarily mean I want to do it.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of factors along the way.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to try to give Winter those tools, I still have to observe her as a person.
For
Like, if
sure.
Winter doesn't have common sense,
Yeah.
I'm not sending her nowhere.
Of course.
It was me. My mom's like,
This is true. This is
You will
true.
know your child.
Some of your
exactly.
kids, yeah, you might have, if she has 5, maybe the 3 years like really, really smart,
Really
street
strong.
smart,
Yeah.
really strong. You know, they're business savvy. They got a good sense of
Or
good hold
independence.
on life.
Yeah.
But the other two,
Especially that last one.
they might be a little wonky.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You might have to watch them a little bit, and
Yeah.
maybe those you might have to make an exception for.
And
I would.
And when you have
An
that many
exception for it.
kids, they grow up in different eras,
Yeah. Yeah. it's
then they're different people. Because I look at my siblings, like me and my other 2 brothers, the older ones, like we're a bit more mature and independent. And then my last 2 younger brothers, they are independent and they do things for themselves. But they live with my mom. But my mom, like those are the babies.
Yeah.
So they get that treatment. My mom will do their laundry, or
Yeah.
you know.
But to your point, exactly what I was saying before, I was actually thinking of your brothers. They're more business savvy than
Exactly.
the rest of them.
But they're not independent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
In the day-to-day living,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
I would have to teach them. This is how you do your laundry. This is how you file your taxes.
Yeah.
This is like, these little things. I'm like, yo,
True.
if you move out on your own, do you know you have to buy drapes?
Yeah.
You know you have to buy dish
And-
detergent and rags and a mop.
Just
Yeah.
like yourself, you said you were left at 18, right? When you were on your own.
I
like,
was. I
living
went
by
to
yourself?
school away on my own, and I was fine. But the way I grew up
Yeah.
at a young age, I was already taking care of my brothers at like 10. So I knew how to cook and clean and do
Yeah.
my laundry and fend for myself. So it didn't feel uncomfortable for me. But it was more of like an emotional struggle than like an independence struggle.
Yeah, definitely.
So yeah,
I kind of had a different experience because I left when I was 18 also. And I went away to a different province to work, right? So like you said, learning to buy drapes, towels,
yeah,
forks,
Yeah.
plates,
those little things.
juice,
Yeah,
like water, things,
cup.
necessities, toothpaste,
Yeah.
toilet paper. If you don't have these things, like where I was always coming from my mom's house and I was
Yeah.
always sheltered, and she's like, "Oh yeah, toilet paper, go in the closet,
Right.
Everything's there." When you're living on your own
You're like-
and you have to figure everything out, it really builds character.
yeah.
And yeah, I did that at 18, and I don't regret it because I feel like it grew me 10 times faster than I would have grew if I stayed at home, being under my mom and learning those things slowly. So for me, it was a bit of a shock therapy, but I was, like John was saying, I was very fortunate to have a really good job at that time at 18, making over 100 grand. I could fend for myself. And even though I didn't have like everything, I could figure it out
Yeah.
along
Right.
my way. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? But nowadays, it's really hard. Like
To get those
rent,
jobs. Yeah.
like to get those jobs is really hard nowadays because everybody could do it, and like rent is like a mortgage.
Rent
Yeah.
and mortgage
So
is the same.
Yeah.
one person can't just move on and be like, yeah, I'm gonna stay on my own. You won't get the same experience as as I did
Yeah.
a couple years ago,
Yeah.
maybe 10 years ago. Now is gonna be different, and 5 years from now is gonna be different.
Right.
Yeah.
It's gonna be harder.
15, 20 years.
Like exactly, all those times, like when our kids are ready to move, it's gonna be a totally different time, and we might have to like totally readjust our way of thinking.
Because setting your kid out and like having a hard date
Yeah.
at 18 might be doing more damage to them financially
Yeah.
at that point in time than beneficially. Like, oh, yeah, okay, they could be hustling and be a great hustler. But if rent is like $2,000 and you're 18 years old,
Yeah.
You still want to party. You still
Yeah.
want to go out.
Yeah.
You still
Yeah.
want to enjoy time with your
you-
friends.
So you're taking away like social development to hustle, to make money, to pay rent, and most likely not save enough
Nope.
to put away to put down on a home you want to put down later on.
Exactly.
So you may be screwing your kid over just by learning.
Kicking them out.
Yeah,
at
hard
18
knocks are not necessarily the best teacher
for
Yeah.
for everybody.
for everybody
Yeah.
and the area and the environment that you're in.
Yep, definitely. Because if you're living in Jane and Finch, you don't want to kick your kid out at 18.
Of course not.
Yeah.
You know, like you
Yeah.
know what I mean. If you're living in Richmond Hill, that's different. Your kid grew up different than if he did living in the hood, right? So, like definitely.
And maybe even
it's-
then, because depending again on what like the climate is economically, it might still be a challenge. I think it has to be on a case by case basis. But I feel like for me, I'm concerned, of course, about economically, like how that's gonna impact Yara if I just said you have to go. But I'm very much concerned about her emotional well being. Where is she at that stage? Is she truly ready to be by herself? Because again, thankfully, you are very resilient. You went out there and there were some really tough times. When you went to Edmonton years ago, you were subjected to a shit ton of racism. Like there were things that you experienced out there that like, you know, would have broken a lot of people, but you were strong enough to withstand. And I don't know whether or not another child, our child, would be able to do that, right? So I feel like that's one of the things that I think about most is
But
that
then there's no way of predicting that. Like,
there isn't,
that's
right?
still their journey.
Exactly. I hear you. I'm so there with you, but I just feel like if I was
their
to,
mistake,
if I had to force her out before I felt like emotionally she was strong enough to take on the world, it would be challenging for me.
Well, I guess that's the point, though, right? You're throwing them out there when you know they're not ready to build the things that in them that
They need a
they
little
didn't have.
grit. They need-
I
think
feel like
they need
no, but I don't
I
feel
know
like
I'm kind of
Rub
arguing the
through the
opposite
mud a
point. I
little
just
bit.
already
yeah, no, but I agree with you because I think
Yeah.
that when my mom said yes
Yeah.
to me going to Korea, she wasn't thinking that like Leanne. At that point, I never cooked a meal for myself. I didn't know how to use a washing machine. The first washing machine that I learned how to use was in Korean.
But if your mom said no, were you gonna go anyway?
Yeah, I was. At 24, I was prepared to go anyways because I was old enough to make that
Exactly.
decision.
So you had
Yeah.
your mind
Exactly.
already made up.
Fair enough.
Nobody was gonna stop you in doing what
Exactly.
you wanted to do.
But was I 100% mature? Not really. But I was ready enough to take on the world is what I'm saying. So I'm not saying that like we have to wait until our children are at this like there's like a codified time. But I just feel like it needs to be on a case-by-case basis and gauge.
So let me ask you this. What do you do if Yara says at 19 that she wants to leave?
Oh, that's fine. I wouldn't want that. To be frank with you, I wouldn't want that. But I would definitely still be there. And maybe not helicopter mom, but like within close reach so that I could oversee and assist and support. But definitely, if at 19 she wants to go, she is more than willing to do so.
Yeah.
Because again, if at 18, Leon said to his mom, I'm going to Edmonton. And she did not want him to go. I remember she called me crying, Leon can't go. He's too... And I'm like, Mom, you just have to let him go because what he was exposed to, what the alternative was, it wasn't good.
Yeah.
So I'm like, it's either this or that. I'd rather see what that has to offer. And again, she wasn't really prepared for it. Neither was I. But she had to encourage. She at least had to support him. She assured him that if it didn't work out, he had a place to come back to. But she encouraged him to go. I would definitely like encourage.
So it just
Jordan.
has to be their choice.
Yeah, for sure. But I still feel like 25 is a good time for you to, keep it moving. even though with all that I'm saying, I still feel like if I'm with the way that I'm trying, like setting Yara up financially now, the literacy, the education that I'm trying to instill in her, I feel like by 25, irrespective of what the economic climate is, Yara should still be okay to live, if not by herself, then with a roommate. At
And
25.
I feel like
At 25, she should be able to do it.
at now where we
Maybe her
are,
roommate will be Winter.
we're
Someone who also is set up.
we're young parents, and I feel like financial literacy should be drilled,
Yeah.
drilled. And I say drilled into our kids' head
In every
because
stage of their life.
every stage. From now, we get them playing with coins, so they love numbers. So when they grow up, it's easier for them because
I
we
agree.
weren't taught those things. as
Right.
kids.
Yeah,
And
saving
when
that.
when we got out, we're like, oh, credit card, oh, $800.
Don't mind if I do.
Jeez, I'll buy some shoes. Why not? No, like we need to like really strap our
The
kids
Importance
and
of
get them ready for life,
financially.
regardless of whatever school they're going to, or whatever.
Or
Like
if
when
they're
they
going to
get
school,
home.
yeah.
We need to drill that in their head because society doesn't prepare them for that. And when they get out there, it's a rude awakening.
Especially children of color.
Especially like our kids,
Yeah.
they're gonna get dragged through the mud regardless of whatever,
I agree.
right? No matter whatever area they grow up in, they're gonna be subjected to things that other kids aren't.
Yeah.
So we need to we need to arm them with
That information.
the brain power and the information to, I started saving from you from you were 0 years old.
Yeah.
So when you get old, I'm gonna have a little something ready for you.
Yeah.
Like
What are you
here,
gonna
here.
do with it?
Yeah. How are you gonna?
How
What are you gonna
plan?
contribute to it?
What are you gonna contribute to it?
Yeah.
Do you want to contribute to it? Do you have a plan for it? Like you start setting them up, getting them a plan. Because I'm big on the entrepreneur and owning. You have to own things. Like,
Yeah.
I'm so proud of you guys for owning this podcast and where it could go. There's the possibilities are endless.
Yeah.
So she already has a little business. So by the time she gets to a certain age, she's gonna have money ready for her. We have a home. She's gonna have equity set for her. We're gonna arm her like totally way better than our parents did for us.
For sure.
So when we go out there, she's gonna be. I think she's gonna have
A decent start.
a decent start of where an aim on where she wants to go.
Yeah.
And
you know?
we kind of want to be the ones to give her, like, set her up so she has that freedom to explore and not be stressed out about, you know,
Exactly.
getting loans and
God,
trying to,
payment.
you know,
Exactly,
beg
you
people
know?
to invest when
Yeah.
we should be her biggest supporters and
Exactly.
investors. Like, this is what we're working for right now, to be
Yeah.
able to give
Invest in
her.
dream.
Exactly.
I'm not
right?
like, if she at 18, I'm like, let me hear your plan. 'Cause
Yeah.
that's what I'm aiming for.
Yeah, pitch
At
it.
18, I'm not kicking you out necessarily, but
No.
I want to hear
Let's see
what
where
your
head's at.
goals
Yeah,
are.
Oh,
exactly.
absolutely.
You don't even have to go to school
Mm-hmm.
if you have a dream. Like, I want to start this business.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
so what are the
Definitely.
tools do we need to make sure that you're the best at this?
Oh, absolutely.
And I want to be her biggest investor. I want to be her biggest supporter.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
I just want to be that person for her. And I don't want to wait for her to, you know, be under my wing and leave at a later age. And then she's forced to think about it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I want her to start thinking about these things at a younger
Which is
age.
probably our like situation. Not a lot of kids grew up like Leanne. Like she was like telling me she wanted to be a teacher from a young age.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people, you know, like me. I wanted to be a lawyer when I was younger. Then I got into school and I was like, God damn.
was like,
years?
no,
I was
why
like,
not?
what? Hell no, I don't want to do that. I
Yeah.
want to devote all my life or so much of my life to do that and then come out and make a salary where it's determined by somebody else or whoever I talk to, right? I want to be an entrepreneur. I want to work for myself.
Right.
I want to work at my own pace and I want to be able to take my kid to school. If I want to homeschool my kid, I want to be able to do that and teach them like the ropes on owning a
Life.
business and owning property and owning things because that's what's really important in life.
Yeah.
Like
And that flexibility, I think, is good too. Like, I love the idea of sitting down and having that conversation and, like, you know, taking an audit of, like, okay, what have you done? What do you want to do? Where do you see yourself in 5-10 years? At 18, I think that's really useful. But I also feel like what's important then, too, is to not be so rigid in whatever is said.
Right.
Right? So, like, there needs to be room to say, like, because exactly, things change. And I feel like that's one thing that I noticed with a lot of teenagers is that they're sometimes feel bound by what they originally said they wanted to do or where they wanted to go. And life can take you in a million different directions. But I think that, it's great to have those conversations, but it's important for the child to know that, like, if it changes, that's fine. We can sit down, we can, you know, we can revisit it and we can brainstorm again. But there always has to be a plan.
Always.
Even if the plan is changing,
Yeah.
that's okay. But let's make sure that there is always a plan. Because if you just if you don't have any direction,
fail to plan to fail. It's been said for years. So and it's really true.
yeah,
Yeah, like I'm thinking after hearing all you guys' points here, like our parents came to this country so we can go to school
yeah,
and so we can go to university and become lawyers, engineer, whatever, right? They didn't really care about if you had a dream or,
No.
or a passion
Yeah.
or
Yeah,
whatever,
yeah.
right?
Yeah, it's
But based on where they came from, that's where their mindset was.
yeah,
And now that we're now ahead
yeah,
mentally, emotionally from where our parents raised us, and we want to be financially secure so we can allow our children to follow their passion,
Yeah.
to follow their dream, and have the room to fail,
Yeah.
to follow the passion. Like, you know what, that didn't work out, but it's not the end of the world.
no, yeah.
The way our parents raised us is like, you got one shot.
One shot at it,
you
yeah.
got one.
This is it.
You got one shot, and you better make it count. There's no room to mess up.
Exactly.
And
so
that's
you have to
and
go
that's
to
a lot.
school, yeah.
And that's a lot of pressure.
It
right?
is.
So knowing that you have the ability to, like, let me try this dream out or this passion out. It didn't pan out. Okay, cool. But I learned a bunch from it. Let me take that on to the next one.
Yeah.
And then into the next one.
And that's what we have.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
And I think it's what we're trying to build now, like with the podcasts and
Yeah.
the businesses and the entrepreneurial like mentality. By having that and building something for ourselves, we're going to be in a position to allow our children to be in a position where they can be creative,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
whether
mean,
they're in business or whatnot.
Because this is an example for our kids also.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah,
going for what we want and, you know, not subscribing to what we're supposed to do, which
Exactly.
is a 9 to 5, but we
Exactly.
still want to be able to hustle and, you know, do our passion projects and, you know, become entrepreneurs for whatever it takes.
Yeah.
And that's a great example for our kids because, you know, you grow up and you see your parents doing something
Yeah.
and you're like, you know what? My mom did this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even if they don't appreciate it then, they'll appreciate it eventually.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
No, absolutely. I definitely feel that way for sure. Like they're watching, they're seeing, and I think that's important because sometimes we talked about this all the time, mom guilt, and how we feel guilty sometimes about like, you know, trying to devote time to the podcast or, you know, devoting time to our independent ventures or what have you. But I think there's so much for Yara and Winter to learn, and that there's so much that's admirable about what we're doing. And I think that's why it's really important for us to like, you know, stay the course and just to keep trusting that like it's gonna pay off because those lessons are invaluable. The kids need to understand that, and I really want that for her. And I'm fine if she decides to go the 9-to-5 route too. Like that's not the end of the world for me.
Yeah.
I just want her to do what she's passionate about, and I don't want her to feel like again like it's a one shot stop because that's the scariest thing in the world. Like if this doesn't work, my God, then what? Like no,
That stifles you.
it does.
It stifles you if you feel like, and that actually stops a lot of people, including myself, from starting something. It's like if I do this and it fails, that's it. I just destroyed everything.
Yeah.
But if you're grown with or raised with the mentality of you can try this and it's okay to fail and move on to something else, you're more open to try other things and try everything and not be afraid and succeed more likely. To be honest.
Right there, John. Like, we have to retrain our brains to thinking that if you try something and it doesn't go well, you didn't fail. You learned something.
Yeah.
It's not fail. It's you learned a lesson.
You didn't take L's, you learned a lesson.
Exactly. You know what to do. You go back to the drawing board. And you go back. You make another plan because everything starts with a plan. And then you go back at it.
Yeah.
And that's it. And you have to be resilient like that to get what you want. Because if you're like, forget it, I'm never going to do anything. And you go back to your 9-to-5, you're going to die
You're gonna be miserable.
a miserable person.
You're gonna be miserable.
You're going to be like, oh man, I knew I should have started that business. Or I knew I should have bought that truck. Or I knew I should have, whatever the case, whatever your situation is, you're always going to live your life in regret. And like you're saying, myself right now, I'm ready to start my business, and I'm like stuck in the like, oh my God, is this? What if this doesn't go right, or what if this is, or what if somebody says something like this and I don't like it, or what if like, who cares?
Right.
Your journey is your journey, and when you start it, like you know, it's gonna take you places. And
That's key.
there's always gonna be hiccups.
Yeah.
No matter what you do, in your 9-to-5, there's gonna be hiccups.
Exactly.
Like getting fired.
Getting fired.
The biggest hiccup.
Yeah.
You go back
That's a
to
big
now you're
hiccup.
like, oh shit. But if you own something, you can't. The only way you fire yourself is if you stop doing it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right? So it's like
It's true.
we have to retrain ourselves in the way we're thinking.
Because you're never failing if you're working with your passion.
Yeah.
You're never failing.
Yeah.
So off topic, I'm so curious, maybe for another time, of your experiences when you went out, when you moved away.
Yeah.
Because she mentioned that you incurred a lot of like racism and
It's
you probably got
ridiculous.
stories for days.
Yeah.
Lots of stories. Yeah.
This is Edmonton. Like what? How old are you now? Like
I'm
32?
33.
30 gonna be 33?
I went to Edmonton. I was 18,
So
turned
it's
19.
15 years ago.
So it was
That's for
15
another
years
day,
ago.
but
Definitely.
And there wasn't that much black people out there when I went, so it was.
there still isn't.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, the guy went to Saskatoon. He went to Moose Jaw and Red
Oh my
Deer.
God.
It's
And like
all the whitest places you.
I guarantee
never
you
know.
can
All
count
white
the-
people know about, but
Yeah.
black people they're like, what?
Huh?
What's a moose jaw?
If we have any listeners from Moose Jaw,
Why would you even name the spot Moose Jaw?
right?
Sounds inappropriate.
It does.
Yeah, but yeah, that's definitely we could talk about that another time because
I'm interested. I'm really interested.
Intrigued. It was so fun having the dads on.
Yep.
is it anytime?
We're definitely going to do a part 2 because we didn't even get into
We didn't.
the other topics.
They were so juicy too.
I
Which is what? What's the other
know.
topics?
So when you guys come
Marijuana,
back, we're going to talk about sex, drugs, and rock and roll.
Sex, drugs, and rock and roll.
I like all three. All three.
I know, right?
But with that being said,
Nap
Nap
time,
time
is
is
over.
over.
Yeah, man,
so we'll
yeah,
have to
man.
see you guys in our next podcast. Thank you for listening.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks for having you guys.
No problem, anytime.
Escape your everyday with out-of-this-world action. From the gritty apocalypse of the Walking Dead universe to the cyberpunk realm of The Watch and the criminal underbelly of Gangs of London, AMC Plus is more than entertaining. It's epic. Feel all the chills and thrills with Shudder's halfway to Halloween month. Experience Shudder's biggest month of horror featuring a new season of Creepshow and new movie premieres every week, all available ad-free and on demand. Start your free trial today at amcplus.com.